Hi, we're having a really great rain, which we don't get a lot of great rains here in the Treasure Valley because we're high desert, but this is a really nice rain. So this week I've been practicing on doing some trees, and this one's not so great. I hated it, but this one I really liked. I think I'm getting it. So I'm gonna practice trees with you today. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the branches, the trunk. And in order to do that, I'm going to use Pueblo, burnt umber, and a little bit of coffee latte. And I have my paper. I have gray paper. I'm using gray paper today. Gray paper really shows up the white. If you're painting with white, white won't show up on white paper, so it does show up on the gray. So what I'm going to do with the Pueblo is I'm going to make myself a color, and I'm going to put just a little bit of Pueblo, and then I'm going to put, let me pull off my boogers here. These are, I call these boogers. They get stuck on the cap. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of brown, a little bit more brown, because we're going to use more brown. And that's kind of nice. I've used up quite a bit of brown. Okay, so there we go. I'll turn that upside down. And then I'm going to use just a very little bit of this coffee latte. And I may or may not add it. We'll see. Okay. So I'm using a 1/2 inch flat with a chisel, and I'm also using a Filbert. The Filbert we're going to use for the leaves. And I learned this on someone else's video. I can't remember where I found it, but I watch lots of videos. And then I go play. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of brown to my Pueblo, just to make it a little bit darker. And I'm going to get a little bit more. I'm trying to make the bark of the tree, and sometimes you'll find reds and blacks and browns, but there we go. I kind of like that color. Okay, I'm going to put all that there. So then what I'm going to do is, since I've kind of made, I should have used my spatula to mix, but I didn't. I used this, and that's when I get in trouble. And you can tell this is a very old brush. It's colored and stained, and that's okay. So then I'm going to double load, and I'm going to load the dark brown on one side and that new color I made on the other side. And I have quite a bit of the Pueblo mix in my brush, so I don't need to make a whole lot, but I am going to kind of just catch a few. Okay, now when we think of a tree, I'm going to try and make my tree, about in here. Sorry, about in here. And so I'm going to start down at the bottom, and I'm going to, that was not cool. That's all right. This is just practice. I'm going to lead with my lighter color, my Pueblo mix. And so I'm going to lead like that. And then I'm going to come over here about 1.5 the width of my brush, and I'm going to come up, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint that in. And remember, when you're working on cardstock, it is quite a bit drier than when you're working on canvas. So you can use, I have some of my floating medium here, and I will put some of that out, but I'm going to go ahead and just kind of fill in my trunk a little bit. And I'm planning on putting grass here, so I don't have to get it really great. but I'm going to go ahead and put brown on the one edge as if I have a shadow, and a little bit of brown on the other edge as if I have a shadow. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint down the body of my tree. Now later I'm going to come in and put more brown and some black to make it look like bark, but for now that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to pick up some more paint and work that in. And now a tree starts to get smaller as it goes up on the top. And I don't want it to go completely straight, so I'm kind of going off to an angle to my right a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring this up just a little bit more until it matches. And then we'll go ahead and paint that in. Okay. Now when you look at a tree, a lot of people when they draw trees, they put the branches coming out at the same angle. When you look at a tree, that's not how trees grow. They will grow and they'll sprout, and then they'll grow a little more and they'll sprout. So that's basically what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to start down here at the bottom, and I'm going to come out here and sprout. And then I'm going to make it just a little bit thicker. And at the end, I'm lifting my brush up so that only the one edge of my my knife edge is on the paper. When I start, I have the entire knife edge down, but as I get to the end, I lift up the one end and I go ahead and finish with just the edge. Now, this has grown just a little bit, so we're going to bring it out this way. And I'm going to fill that in just a little bit. And when you look at a tree, it doesn't make angles, perfect angles. There are little round spots, and so you'll see me, I'm going to go ahead and make my little round spot here and my little round spot here. And there we go. Now, they will get smaller as we go up towards the top of our tree. And so the next one will come out on this side. And then I'm going to make my little, there we go. Can you see that? See how I kind of rounded off those inner corners. And then I'm going to come up and do this one. I keep getting more paint. And I'm going to go ahead and soften that just a little bit. And you know these are going to be covered with leaves, so they don't have to be completely perfect, just so that you kind of have a foundation for your tree, just like you would a house. And then I'm going to do one on this side and one on this side. Now, when you look at a tree also, let me go ahead and soften that up just a little bit. And that one just a little bit. There we go. Now, when you look at a tree just doesn't have these branches coming off like that. They have other little branches. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean. So, when you have another branch coming here, and one off of here, and off of here, and maybe here. And again, branches don't just stay in their area. They start to overlap each other. And I'm going to show you what I mean with this one. So we come down, and we might go up. And then we'll add some other ones. Okay, and so we're going to do that the whole way up our tree on both sides. And we just keep filling in until you're kind of comfortable. I might put another little one there just to fill in. And we'll put some coming down off of here and off of here. And we're going to bring one up this way and out and up. And then we're going to fill up this. Okay. So we've kind of gotten our tree branches set. So the next thing I remember doing is I'm going to get a pencil. Where is my pencil? I don't really have a pencil, do I? Okay. And I'm going to have to kind of fill around, and I'm going outside of my branches, and I'm going to kind of go ahead and make some areas where I want my tree to fill. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that I did it very lightly. I did it outside the branches. I didn't do it very dark because I do want to be able to cover this with paint. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and now with this one, I did put a little bit of dark color in here, and I'm going to do that, but I used black the last time, and I'm not happy with black. So I'm going to get some of my floating medium. The black just seemed like it was too dark. It was hard to get the colored leaves then to cover it. So we're going to try something new. I'm washing out my brush. I want to get the color out. And I'm going to fill my brush completely with floating medium. And then I'm going to pick up and then I'm going to just start dabbing. And I'm basically going to dab where my branches are and then down the trunk. And I'm trying to keep it very light. I'm not trying to get real heavy with it. It's just going to kind of fill in and make it appear as if it's background leaves. Okay, so that being done, I'm going to wash out my brush again. And we're going to put our flat brush away. And I'm just going to keep mine soaking in water. I don't put the whole thing in the water. Let me show you what I do. I keep it just so that my ferrule is outside of the water and just the bristles are in. Okay, so I'm going to start with my darkest color, and that is Pueblo. Let me go ahead and show you the colors that we're going to need for our branches. Okay, so these are the colors that I'm going to put in my branches. Mostly, I'm going to use these ones with a little bit of black. And the black like I said, we're going to fill in the bottom of our trunk to make it look more like bark. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this. I always save these. And then when they're dried out, then sometimes they get reused anyway. So I'm going to start putting colors on as I use them. So the first one I'm going to start with is Pueblo. So I want just a little bit of Pueblo. And the nice thing, I'm sorry, we're going to use a little bit of yellow ochre too. The nice thing about your Filbert brush, you get it wet a little bit, and then of course you pat out the excess water as best you can, not too dry. But the nice thing about the Filbert is it is a rounded brush at the edge, so it makes really pretty leaves. And I'm going to show you how we do that. I'm going to get just a little bit on my brush, and I don't know if you can see that. It's just a very little bit of Pueblo. And I see some wet spaces. I don't want any wet spaces. So I'm going to start at the top, and basically what I'm doing is my brush is at an angle, quite a nice angle, and I'm going to touch and lift, and I have just, there we go, that one's better. And you can see, you probably can't, but this is where my line is, and as I come to the right side, I go ahead and just touch the right side of my brush. When I come to the left side, I will just touch the left side of my brush, and so that it looks like the leaves are falling. And I'm going to keep dabbing. And some of them get a little heavy, and that's okay. I get a little bit more paint. And I'm going to keep dabbing. And I'm going to do quite a bit in the trunk, and I just keep kind of almost pouncing. Now, we do have a pounce brush, and I'm sure you've seen me with my pounce brushes, the thicker brushes. You can make leaves with these, but they're not quite as pretty as this Filbert brush. So I'm really filling in here in the middle, and then I'm going to go back and do my edges. And this is just a process. It really is quite a long process because you're doing all these little tap, 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 taps. But it's really good practice to get you into how to use the Filbert brush. And you do lefts, you do rights, you just kind of tap all over. And as I do this, I hope you're kind of paying attention. I'm just going ahead pretty much down the trunk of my tree till I get to the bottom here. And then I'm going to fill in some of my branches. And again, you can see I turn my Filbert brush just a little bit to the right. And you kind of want to fill in. Now my line goes here, and you can see it's outside of my actual branches, and I am going to eventually fill that in. But for now, I'm just going to tap, 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 keep tapping, and I'm going to get quite a bit of this Pueblo. And underneath here, you can see I'm letting the leaves fall. And it's just, there's nothing magical about it. It's just tap, 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 tap. It's very relaxing, as far as I know. For me, it's very relaxing. And then I'm going to fill in some of these empty spots. And you can see I'm leaving some white spots because we're going to use all of these colors to make leaves. And so we want to have a little bit. Some of them will overlap, which will be fine. And some of them we will fill in more than others. But this Pueblo is kind of a good background, and you can kind of see that's the one I used with my 3/4 brush when I was slapping. And that's the one I used the floating medium with. I've been practicing trees for a long time, for about a week. For me, they were just a little bit hard to get properly. And again, I'm going to fill in here. And you can see they kind of look like little leaves falling. They're just really cool. Yeah, I like this color. This is one of my favorite colors. And I've been practicing a lot. I know that I just set up videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I want you to know I do more practice on the other days too. I'm getting ready to do level 2 certification, and I just feel like it's a good idea to go ahead and keep skills fresh. Okay, I think I'm kind of happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and clean out my brush just a little bit, and then I'm going to get the next color, which will be orange. I'm going to use red. Let's use red. And this is apple red. So I'm going to put a little bit of red on here. And I'm going to do the same thing. Now I know this is a little bit boring, but you just get a little bit of, and that's too wet. Let me dry out my brush just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and get a little red. And I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to tap, 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 tap. And I might put a lot of red here, and then I might skip a little bit, put a little bit of red here, and skip, and put some red here. Because as much as we have our dark in the middle, we have left some light in here so that we can see light. Because a tree isn't just solid. A tree has little spots where you can see the light through. And you can see I am covering quite a bit. And I'm not focusing on my white spaces like here, but I'm just I do try to get as much as I can in that area, even though I'm covering up some of the Pueblo. But I kind of pay attention to where I have some white spots, and I don't want to cover them all because there are other colors. There are 4 other colors we want to use. And we want to have a little bit of light shining through. While I'm painting, my husband is so sweet. I have pretty bad asthma as I've gotten older, and he is doing the floors for me. He dusted earlier this morning, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate him, because I would have to have a cleaning lady, and he said someday we will get a cleaning lady, because he won't be able to do it, and that will be okay. I will be just tickled pink when he gets us a cleaning lady. But he says as long as he can do it, he's going to enjoy it. He enjoys keeping busy, I think, is the big thing with him. And you can see I'm putting a few over my trunk, even though I put a lot of the Pueblo over the trunk. And we just keep tapping. I know this is a little boring as a lesson. I could stop it, but yeah, we can talk. You and I can talk. We can talk while we do this. I'm really trying to cover quite a bit where the Pueblo is, because leaves overlap. And here I have a big white space. I'm going to try and cover a little bit more. So I think I've gotten red just about everywhere. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to clean out my brush, and we're going to go ahead and get the pure orange. And pure orange is a little bit difficult to work with leaves, especially what we're doing here. So I am going to get a little bit of white, and through my painting, you'll see me coming back and forth between the orange and the red, because when you mix the orange with the red, it makes a really nice bright orange color. Whereas the orange by itself doesn't seem to do as much. And you can also do some white, mix some white in there, which will help the orange to do a little bit better cover. And what this also does is it makes some variegated leaves. And I'm not going to use a whole lot of this color. I have to wipe some of that off. I got too much paint on. You don't want a lot of paint. And we just tap, 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 tap. We have tricycles, 3 speeds, 3 tricycles, and they're actually 5 speeds, bikes that we ride. And the weather has been, the air has been really bad with the smoke from Oregon and even Utah a little bit. Colorado has been bad. They've been hit really bad with smoke from wildfires, and we get a lot of that residual that blows in, and so we haven't been able to ride all summer. And we used to be able to ride, and they're electric, so like yesterday when we rode, I didn't pedal hardly at all. I used a lot of the electric just to get out and about, and the bikes keep us a little bit active, and they're also kind of good for mental health. PMA, positive mental attitude. Now you can kind of see I'm starting to really get some color in here. I'm not going to use a lot of orange because, like I said, orange just doesn't color as nicely as some of the other colors. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to try a green. We're going to put a little bit of green, because when you notice the trees in the fall, they don't all turn color at the same time. You'll have some green, you'll have some yellows and browns. So I'm actually going to start with the darker green. This is classic green, and I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit down there. And with the green, oh, I got too much water in my brush again. There we go. So I'm going to put little clusters of green. I'm not going to do as much green as I have the red, and especially the orange, the Pueblo. But I am going to do a little bit scattered throughout so that it kind of looks like this tree still has some leaves that need to change colors. And usually on the outside where the air is cooler that hits the tree, that's where you'll find more colored leaves. And on the inside towards the trunk, you might find more green ones. Okay, and that's about all the dark green I'm going to use. I am going to get a little bit of my citrus green. And not much. You don't need a lot, just a little bit. And actually, it's a good thing I'm going to be practicing more trees because I have a little too much paint everywhere. And I'm going to get just a little bit of citrus. And I might put that scattered in with the regular green. Not a lot. You don't need a lot of green because this is a fall tree. And that's about all I'm going to do with the greens. Okay, the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of yellow ochre. I didn't tell you that color in the beginning, but let's do a little bit of yellow ochre. Oops, there we go. And I don't do a lot of yellow ochre either, but I am going to try and get some in where my whites are, where I have a little bit more white. And the last color we're going to do is white, but we are going to do yellow before we even get to the white. So you can see this tree has really started to come alive. And it has so many colors in it. I love fall. Fall is one of my favorite times of the year. And you can see I've gone ahead and found most of my white spots and tried not cover them, but kind of pounce them just a little bit so that they look like we have leaves all through. And you can see there are still some white spots in there. Okay, just a little bit more right here. Okay, so let's get some yellow, and I'm using moon yellow. Now, moon yellow is a strange little color, and it sometimes does not show up. So we are going to go ahead and start with moon yellow. Oh, yeah, it's going to be nice. And I'm not using a lot of moon yellow because we're going to add some white to our tree a little bit later. And the white is what actually makes it pop. When I show you this, you can see I used more white and yellow mix. And that's what made that tree pop, because right now it just looks dark. It just looks real heavy and dark. So if you want to, go ahead and start mixing your yellow and white. And especially where the light's going to hit it. And you can see that's starting to pop your tree. What's really nice is if you go out into nature and kind of check out trees, you get a better idea of what a tree does as it starts to lose its leaves. And this white and yellow really gets things popping here. You can see it's starting to look a little bit more natural. A little bit more, it brightens it up. It brightens it up quite a bit. And I'm going over colors, but some of the colors still kind of fall through. And that's what makes it look just a little bit very real, almost realistic. Now, the last thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and get our brown out. I think I'm going to be done here. Okay, I'm going to be done. I'm going to call it good. I'm going to get my brown back out. And I am going to get a script liner, which the script liner is that very thin brush. And I'm going to get it wet. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a kind of an inky puddle. And this is the only brush that we really use water with. And I'm going to go through, and every once in a while I'm going to paint a little bit of Not a lot, just a little bit. And you can see it kind of brings my tree to life. Okay, so that is our tree practice for today. Oh, the other thing. I want to go ahead and get some black. We do want to finish up our tree nicely. I put my signature on there. I'm not quite done, but I put my signature on there. Oops, just a little too much black. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to get my, and just very lightly. I'm going to head and put, to make it look like bark. Okay, I might do just a little bit of the light brown. Trying not to cover up my black because the black does really make it pop. And then I might do a little bit of white. And I just want very little bit of white. Okay. I hope that helps you. Just keep practicing. Practicing's the only way that you're going to get good at it. And like I said, I've done about half a dozen trees. This is my favorite. This is my absolute favorite. It reminds me of a tree when I was growing up in the neighbor's yard. The boy next door, we would have snowball fights, and he would climb up there and just lambast me. And I made a fort one day, and he didn't realize I had a fort, so he couldn't get me. But then in the fall, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful sugar maple, and it was just absolutely beautiful. So this reminds me of the sugar maples back home. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this. Just keep practicing, and join me again next time for practice session. Okay, bye-bye.